global jihad is international. Everywhere that Muslims and non-Muslims live in the same region, Muslims wage war against non-Muslims and attempt to impose Islamic law over them. We have to stand together as the people who are victimized or potentially victimized by jihad warfare.
Our family doesn't have a grave. Even people who has a grave on a cemetery, they get just small piece of body from mother, from father, from son. Rest of the body, it's ash and blood, and everything on the ground zero. This is the grave. This is the burial place. And I don't want to say what all Muslim is terrorist. Of course not. But people, 19 people who killed 3,000 Americans, they was Muslim. And we don't want mosque on the ground zero. They can build any place, but not ground zero.
I don't know what to say to jar a memory's memory. I want America to remember. What do you need to hear? You want to hear that there were people that were so frightened that they jumped out of buildings and they exploded on impact? You want to hear that there were dismembered bodies all over the way? You want to hear that we looked at people that were gutted? There's things that we haven't spoken about. We couldn't stop the people from responding. The fire department that day lost 343 firefighters. They were unstoppable. They poured into that building. The Port Authority Police, 37 police officers. NYPD, 23 police officers. EMS lost people. Civilians were there. They helped people. They died helping people. America, where are you on this? Where are you? Don't you remember? Don't you remember? What is it going to take for you to remember?
Ladies and gentlemen, let me start by saying, no mosque here. We are here today because we have not forgotten all the loved ones that were lost and those left to carry on. And neither has the world. When the forces of jihad attacked New York, they attacked the world. And amongst those lost were people from 55 nations, people of every religion, of every persuasion. No place on earth was more multi-ethnic and multilingual than New York's proud towers. And this, ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly the reason that they were targeted. They constituted an insult to those who hold that there can be no peaceful cooperation among people and nation without submission to Sharia. To those, indeed, to those who wish to impose the legal system of the Islamic ideology to the rest of us. But as we all know, America, New York, and Sharia are incompatible. New York stands for freedom, for openness, and for tolerance. Indeed, New York is rooted in Dutch tolerance. New York is tolerant, not intolerant. Suppose New York were intolerant. Suppose it would only allow people of one persuasion within its walls. Then it would not be New York, but it would be like Mecca. Mecca, a city without freedom. Whatever your religion, your persuasion, or your gender is, in New York you will find a home. But in Mecca, if your religion is not Islam, you are not even welcome to enter the city.
Ladies and gentlemen, may we one day have an American president who has the courage and wisdom to suggest that perhaps the anniversary date of 9/11 could be used as a day for the Muslim world to try and understand the non-Muslim world. As a big mouth on the radio, a white Methodist American citizen, may I be so bold as to speak for a moment for this non-Muslim world. I think I can safely represent this world by reminding all that this debate has never been about religious liberty. No one has ever suggested that mosques be banned. No one has ever advocated any serious effort for a Muslim moratorium. No one has ever suggested that Muslims aren't free to worship in the way they wish to worship. In fact, most of us understand that this Ground Zero mosque is likely on solid legal footing. No, this is not a legal or technical debate, nor is it any kind of anti-Muslim hysteria. This is simply a belief that family members whose loved ones were brutally murdered, the ones we heard from today, should be respected when they say that an Islamic mosque at this site is wildly inappropriate.
I think we all also remember the passengers and crew of United Flight 93, who in many respects were the only opportunity the victims of 9/11 had to counterattack. They didn't need the government to tell them what to do. They didn't need politicians to tell them what to do. They didn't need opinion leaders to tell them what to do. They knew what to do, and they did the right thing there on United Flight 93. And I think as we remember and honor the victims and the families of the 9/11 tragedy, it's with that in mind that we have to view the proposal to build the Ground Zero Mosque. It's a very strange enterprise that says we want to increase religious tolerance and understanding. And if you don't agree with that, we're going to increase religious tolerance and understanding whether you like it or not. That's really a very unappealing face to put on the supposed effort behind the mosque.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are at a crossroads. We are at a watershed moment in our country's history. I have an 11-year-old, soon to be 11-year-old son, and I fear for his future. And let me tell you why. The latest rationale for having this mosque here, according to Imam Rauf, is that if he moves it now, he doesn't know what the radical Islamists might do. We don't care. We don't care. The day that we start worrying about the actions of terrorists, and that's what they are, over the concerns of our own safety, our own country, our own decency, we are finished.
With some words from a president that we know and love. His name is Ronald Reagan. And he talked about a time when America would have a rendezvous with destiny. It's happening right here at Ground Zero. We've had one here before. We're having it again. It's up to you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's up to you. And you know that Mayor Rudy Giuliani made an excellent point recently. And he said, if this mosque is really about building bridges and these folks are about healing, then they're going to hear this message and they're going to move. They're going to move the right thing and they're going to move. But if they're warriors, they're going to dig in and they're going to stay. Well, you know what? We have warriors too.
I've listened to the spokespersons with the mosque state that this mosque, Islamic Cultural Center, would be instrumental in building a bridge to serve and improve relationships. I've also listened as the majority of Americans in New York and the rest of this country have expressed their opposition to the chosen location due to the reminder of the great suffering we have incurred at the hands of Islamic terrorists. We believe to build at Ground Zero would in fact show less in the way of peace and tolerance, but more in lack of respect and a bold act of insensitivity. Although the Constitution affords this right, we do not believe that this is as much about rights as it is about honor and integrity. In other words, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
I want to tell you something about the American Center for Law and Justice. We have firsthand experience with Sharia law. We have an office in Israel, but the first case we handled was for a Palestinian Christian in Gaza. Her husband, who ran the only bookstore that sold Bibles in Gaza City, was killed by Hamas in the street. No justice, no court date. And yet this imam refuses to call an organization who killed a pregnant woman last week in Israel and rushed to claim responsibility. He refuses to call them a terrorist organization. Imam Roth, America rejects you. We reject you, and we reject your Ground Zero mosque.
Do not ask us. Do not ask me, the 9/11 family members, to continue to tolerate, to be tolerant of those who demonstrate selfish and self-serving behaviors and attitudes. Imam Abdul Rauf is quoted as saying this week that if we don't do this right, the moving of the mosque, anger will explode in the Muslim world. Well, Imam, anger is exploding in America too. He stated that if this situation is not handled correctly, it could become something very dangerous indeed. Does that sound like tolerance to you? It actually sounds more like a threat.
And by the way, whenever they tell you that it's 600 feet from ground zero, this is your response. Lie. That building is ground zero. That building was hit and partially destroyed by the planes that went into those towers. There were human remains in that building. That building is ground zero. Why there? I ask you, why there? Why such a deliberately provocative act?
Now, speaking of media bias, you may recall that Pamela and I hosted a rally in June on this spot. And many of you were here, and the media coverage was all about an Arabic-speaking man who was supposedly roughed up by the crowd, and that showed that we were all racist, anti-Muslim, and Islamophobic bigots. Well, he's our next speaker. Joseph Nasrallah came from California to support this cause and to stand against this mosque in June, and he is here again today. He is a Coptic Christian human rights activist from Egypt and the founder of The Way TV, a Christian satellite TV station. And so please welcome Joseph Nasrallah.
God bless America! God bless America! Wake up, America! Wake up, all states of America! It's written in the Quran. It's written in the Quran that the war is deceiving. They can lie just to build this mosque here on my dead body. On my dead body. You know why? Because I escaped from Egypt for a freedom here. Where I can go? You need me to go to the moon now? To have a land on the moon? Islam is a big ideology here. They coming. They using taqiyya. They using deceiving. They lie for the pastor. They lie for Pamela Geller and Robert Spencer. They lying. I hate lying. You come here for freedom. I'm sorry to show you my picture. This is one of our dear friends in Egypt. One of eight of them in the Christmas night. In the name of Islam, they said Allahu Akbar, and they killed them in front of the church. 3,000 persons burned here in the same area. They need to build a mosque, and can you imagine that?
But this is an aerial photo of Ground Zero, and some of the men in my unit made this for me. And I carried it next to my heart
inside my flak jacket when I was in Iraq. And no. Ladies and gentlemen, the message here, what's important here, is the words on the top. Say, never forget. Never forget. Never forget. Never forget.
Imam Rauf refuses to condemn terrorists because he says that terrorism, I quote, is a very complex question. He says, and I quote again Imam Rauf, that America is an accessory to the crime that happened on 9/11. In fact, Imam Rauf said, in the most direct sense, I quote him again, Osama bin Laden is made in the USA. And terrorism will only end if the West acknowledges the harm it has done to Muslims. Ladies and gentlemen, this crazy and idiotic remarks of this extreme imam proves that this man should never play the game he has in mind here in Manhattan.
He is in fact traveling the world at our expense as a paid spokesman for the State Department sent around the world to explain our country to other people, notwithstanding the radical and extreme statements that he's made. So even beyond the mosque controversy, even if a new location can be found, I think we need to have a serious conversation about what it is at the State Department that has motivated them to finance the imam and perhaps others like him.
Thank you, guys. I'm happy to see how many Americans came. It means we stay together. Like 9 years ago, I remember everybody stayed together. It's wonderful. Nobody can put us on a knee. I can tell you, everybody asks same question. How you feel after 9 years? I can tell you a secret. Very bad. Every year is bad. It's worse. Because I get older and I feel lonely and nobody can bring me back my son. I wanna ask Mr. Bloomberg, because in other way I have no chance to ask him. Mr. Bloomberg, tell us please, do you sleep well? You don't have a bad dream? Nobody talking what we against to build mosque. No. Everybody can build anything what they want. You want to pray, God bless you. You want a mosque, God bless you. But not put mosque on a cemetery. Because this place...
Like Rosa mentioned, I'm a 9/11 paramedic. I lost 2 of my partners that day. And it really saddens me that we even have to be here today. I listened to the imam say he didn't know the pain this was going to inflict. I hear the imam say he wants to bridge gaps and bring Muslims and non-Muslims together. Does that look like it's happening? I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he didn't know then, but he knows now. There should be no doubt in his mind when 75+% of the people say don't do this. When family members who've been victimized are standing out there and saying, please don't do this. So the answer to anyone's question, if this guy's doing this to be provocative, or if he's doing it to build bridges,
Well, we're going to find out tomorrow if he continues with this monstrosity or if he stops this disaster now.
Many of the families, as you've heard today, whose loved ones lost their lives at the hands of Muslim extremists are positively anguished over the idea of a mosque being built so close to the spot where their precious family member took their last breath. Today, as we memorialize those who died and remember the family, friends, and countrymen left behind, we stand in solidarity with those who believe that an Islamic cultural center and mosque in the shadows of where the Twin Towers once proudly stood is an appalling lack of sensitivity and respect. In fact, it is the height of disrespect and a blatant and offensive assault on the legacy of those who were slaughtered by extremists who did what they did in the name of Allah.
The people, I'll say it again, the people who want this mosque built, it is a symbol of conquering. It is a symbol to the Muslim world that they conquered. And let me leave you with this. Someone informed me of this, and take it for what it's worth. When you get home, Google the Quran translation. This is called Project 51. Why? Go to chapter 51 in the Quran and go to the address 44 to 46. Chapter 51, verses 44, 45, and 46. I'll leave you with that tease, and you will understand why they will never, ever move the site of this mosque. It must be built here or it's worthless to them.
There is no lack of mosques in New York. The contrary, dozens of buildings where Muslims can pray. It's not about the lack of space for prayer. It's about the symbolic meaning, and we should not allow that to happen here.
My fellow good and decent and fine and righteous Americans, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming out today and standing here for hours because you stand for America. You say yes to freedom and no to the Ground Zero Mosque. Thank you. It's all you.
And so we come to the end of this, and what have we done? We have strengthened our resolve. We are never going to give up. The political elites are out of touch with the will of the people, and that means the political elites are going to have to give way. And there will never be a mosque at Ground Zero. Never. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Watch Atlas Shrugs and Jihad Watch for the next rally. We will be calling upon you. Each one of you is a soldier. We need you. Now is the time. Thank you.